Hello and welcome to a series of cricket videos that we will be producing. And we're going to be starting off with Kevin Pietersen. And like I say, we're going to be talking through a whole range of players. Isn't that right, Jay? And KP to
Yeah.
start with. Good one to start with, isn't it, KP? Because he was in the news quite a lot for various reasons with in terms of his cricket, the way he kind of clad himself in the England team, and also this stats as well, because he was obviously a massive player for England throughout history and probably their best player in my opinion. Well, certainly in kind of the post 2000 era generation. We've got a few points listed out here, so let's have a look at the first one. So his series against South Africa, this is a very, very big thing to talk about actually, because this is just before Kevin Pietersen, or KP as he's widely known as, just before he became famous in cricket for England actually, and it was just before the Ashes as well. And this is a South Africa team that had people like Jacques Kallis, had people like Andre Nel, Macarantini, lots of great players, Mark Boucher, a very star-studded South Africa team, and KP not really known in the international circuit at this time, comes in, young guy, and does so well. And he scored 3 centuries in this series in 2005. And he was player of the series as well, actually. More than 450 runs. Massive, massive performance there. And I think that was a big sign for not only English cricket, but just around the world. Most teams around the world thought, okay, this guy, Kevin Pietersen, is going to be the next big thing in both English cricket and internationally. And this was a massive platform for him. And he showed how good he is. And it's astonishing, really, to think about it, that before this series, KP was, when he started his career, he was kind of a person who people thought would be a bit of a spin bowler who could bat a bit low down the order. And I think he started his career as a bit of a spin bowler, but it's astonishing, isn't it, how he managed to change that and do so well with the bat. And as I say, this series was a massive, massive moment in his career. And that's our first point. What did you got anything to add to that, Jay? Or
No, I mean that's just moving on to the second point. Just on the back of that tour of South Africa, the 2005 Ashes, isn't it? The sort of breakthrough moment of his career, isn't it? He was actually quite fortunate to even play in that series ahead of Graham Thorpe, who was actually quite a good batsman, wasn't it? And I mean, yeah, what a phenomenal Test series he had. You know, scoring 473 runs and average of almost 53. He came in with not much experience as a 24-year-old. First Test match, scored 2 half centuries, and then scored runs throughout the 5 Test matches, and then ultimately the last Test match, and the last their second England's second innings, he scored 158 to clinch the series for England, and they hadn't won the Ashes for numerous years, isn't it? So I mean, he has, yeah. I mean, I would just say he's just England's best talent of that generation, isn't it?
yeah, exactly. And some really good points there about that series because Shane Warne for Australia was a massive bowler, and I think KP was probably one batsman in England's team that Shane Warne didn't have the most success with against. And you think to all the other players like Ian Bell and Andrew Strauss and pretty much, yeah, I'd say most of them, Triscothick as well. There was quite a few there that decent players, but Shane Warne did get the better of most of them on most occasions in that series, and KP just showed his class and his how much of a genius he was, really, didn't he? As you say, so yeah, very very good point. And moving on to the third one, unorthodox and innovative shots throughout his career. Yeah, this is a very big thing here because cricket has changed quite a lot over the years, especially over the last 15, 20 years. And KP has been a massive, massive kind of player and influence on that because if you think back to before the generation of KP, early 2000s, late 90s, you never saw people doing switch hits and reverse sweeps. It was very, very rare to see. And KP comes in 2005, 2006. He's doing reverse hits against people like Muralitharan and Daniel Vittori, and he's smashing the ball everywhere. And he's becoming renowned as almost a 360-degree cricketer. And thanks to people like KP, you have players like A.B. de Villiers and Erin Morgan of recent times coming in and being more dimensional too with the way they bat. So I think KP had a massive role there, and the T20 whole kind of success that England have had has been largely influenced and progressed by people like KP, because England did win the T20 World Cup back in 2010, a long, long time ago, and I think KP was a massive kind of influencer for that and enabled England to do very well. So yeah, his innovative strokes, something to really make a note of, isn't it, when you think of KP? Anything else to add there, or?
No, you've just said everything really, and yeah, it's just paved the way, isn't it, for T20 cricket to be the phenomenon it is now. And then just moving on to point number 4, which is the issue surrounding his captaincy and the controversy that it caused England in particularly. So Kevin Pietersen was named the Test match captain in 2008, replacing Michael Vaughan, and also in 2008 replacing Paul Collingwood as the one-day captain. So that was in August 2008, and he got off to a good start, didn't he? Beating South Africa 4-0 in that Test match, and then subsequently faced India, which didn't go too well. And yeah, he had a stint for about 5 months, where, in my opinion, it should have been much longer for someone of KP's enormous potential, leadership and influence. And it's just I think England just sort of, I don't know, the sort of the mismanagement of KP to some extent, and sort of his sort of attitude, isn't it? I mean, he throughout his whole career he had a massive attitude, isn't it? And ultimately, sort of, maybe betraying the trust of the ECP, and at the time Peter Moores, when he wanted Michael Vaughan on the tour of India. So, I mean, I think Pietersen would have been a great captain for a number of years, but it wasn't to be.
Yeah, very good, very interesting, isn't it? All his all the time he's had is, as you say, with all those captaincy type issues, and he's spoken a lot about different types of coaches as well, hasn't he, KP? Which has been interesting because he's talked about how certain players have certain styles and they suit better with certain coaches, and I think that's quite an interesting point, isn't it? Because KP was it comes across as a person who was a bit more, he wasn't kind of fussed about the detail and obsessing about having loads of processes and ways of doing things. I think he was probably a modern day genius who wanted things. He kind of knew what he wanted to do and wanted to get on and do it, didn't he? And I think certain coaches probably suited that style a bit more than others, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the best example would have been Duncan Fletcher in the 2005 Ashes series. Just tell him to play the natural game, and that's what he did, isn't it? Just go hit boundaries at every opportunity and let him get on with his own business, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And Peter Moores comes across as a bit more kind of a coach who might be a bit more interested in process and how things are, how players go about things and what systems they have and all that. So you can see the differences and potential clashes that someone like KP would have had. But yeah, very good point that. And finally, moving on to our final point, which is to do with his post-playing days, and it's to do with how he's managed to do well as a pundit, cricket pundit, because he's getting a lot of interest in places like Australia and even in England as well, and just generally around the world, in India as well, in the IPL. He's doing very well as a commentator and a pundit, and I think people quite like the fact that he's quite open-minded. He's kind of a free-speaking type person. He speaks his mind. He doesn't hold anything back, and I think people like that. And being a bit outspoken is always good because it shows just a bit of interest as well with the cricket, because you want people who are honest about their views, whether they're brutal or not. Who cares? It's all very interesting to see if you're a viewer. So yeah, very, very good to see him carrying on with that career. And Big Bash as well. I think he's been involved in Big Bash, so I think he's doing well. And it'll be good to see him carry on with his days as a cricket pundit. And yeah, let's see how it all goes. Any additional comments on that, or I think those are the main points.
Yeah, that's yeah, just agree that I'm happy that he's actually carried on in a cricketing capacity, and yeah, very enjoyable to watch as a pundit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And those are our main points. And as you can see, he obviously had very good stats as well, because he averaged 47 with the bat in Test cricket. And it's astonishing. He played over 100 matches and he had an average of over 47, which is considerably positive, really, compared to the kind of the rest of standards that England batsmen have produced over the years. And that's a very good average. And in one day cricket as well, averaging over 40, that's it's a very good effort there. And just final remarks, was a very, very good player for England, and obviously a genius, modern day genius. And those points that we talked about, they highlight how impressive he was, just, around how he played when he first came onto the scene against Africa, as well in the Ashes, and how he's changed and transformed cricket with his innovative stroke play. And yeah, it's you don't really get situations where you call players geniuses or masters and things like that. Is a phrase that's often overused, but with KP, I think we can certainly say that he was certainly a genius. And I think that's a good way to sign off this video. And hope you guys enjoyed watching. And please do stay tuned, because we have lots more coming up, and we'll be discussing our next player very soon. So definitely keep your eyes out, and we look forward to producing some more material for you guys. Cheers. Bye.